It's really hard to make this work if it's just you doing it. Having an agency saved my tail a bunch of times because when I was having a bad week, there were other people having a good week. There were many times when I was ready to quit the business and I called Stephen Yee and he had a good day and I didn't want to quit anymore. If it was just me doing it, people say, what's the best thing I could do to ensure that I have success? What's the best thing I could do to become the best agent in the field? The best thing you could do to become the best writing agent in the field yourself is to go recruit somebody. So today, I'm going to get into the base shop builders call. There's a few things I'm going to talk about. The first thing I'm going to talk about, and I think sometimes we overlook this part, but why should you actually build an agency? I think it's important to talk about why. We talk a lot about how, talk a lot about the attitude behind it and the philosophy, but we don't necessarily just talk about why you should do it. So I'm going to talk about why you should do it. The next thing I'm going to talk about is setting up a game that you can win. What does that look like? There's different aspects of that are crucial. Then I'm going to talk about some invitations to get people to pay attention and look at what you're doing. And then I'm going to talk about getting new people started. And so the first thing is why build? So when I started out as an insurance agent, I did not kill it coming out of the gate. I actually did. Actually, my first month, it did really well. But after that, I forgot how to sell insurance. So I got too smart is what happened. And I wanted to be an expert on all these different things. And instead of helping people with what they asked for, I'd overcomplicate the process and I couldn't sell my way out of a paper bag. And what I learned in that process was I didn't want to be in the position where I was dependent on my sales all the time to pay my bills because that was linear income. That was no different than me going out and getting a job and literally being at the mercy of my employer. Now, this is as stable as you are. I'm not very stable. So when it was just me selling insurance, my business was just as stable as me, and it experienced a lot of ups and downs, if I'm being completely transparent. And what I started to think about was, if I'm the only person bringing the income into the house, that's a scary place to be, because what if I get hurt? What if I get sick? What if I can't work anymore? What if, God forbid, I want to take a vacation or I want to take a day off? Then where would I be, And so I started looking at it like this, like there's a lot of people that take money out of your house. But if you're the only one bringing money into the house, that's a dangerous place to be. It's really hard, and I hope this doesn't turn some people off, but I'll tell you straight up. It's really hard to make this work if it's just you doing it. Having an agency saved my tail a bunch of times because when I was having a bad week, there were other people having a good week. There were many times when I was ready to quit the business and I called Stephen Yee and he had a good day and I didn't want to quit anymore. If it was just me doing it, people say, what's the best thing I could do to ensure that I have success? What's the best thing I could do to become the best agent in the field? The best thing you could do to become the best writing agent in the field yourself is to go recruit somebody, because it'll give you a level of accountability that you don't have when it's just you. It's like having kids. It's a different level of responsibility. Now all of a sudden I have to show up. I can't let people down. There's more pressure on me, and there's nothing wrong with positive pressure. Positive pressure is important. John F. Kennedy got people to get this idea in their mind that man could walk on the moon by giving a deadline and putting positive pressure on it. That it's no different. I mean, it is different. Hey, recruiting a few agents and walking on the moon, like it's a lot harder to build a spaceship and walk on the moon, by the way. So maybe it's not the best analogy. That's harder. But look, if there's all these people taking money out of the house, you got the electric company, you got your mortgage payment, you got your car insurance, you got your car payments, you got the kids stuff that they need, you got all these other bills. Hey, do you think about, see, when I started in this industry, I didn't, I was behind on my bills. Like my methodology to keep my bills current was like, if there was a notice on the door that they were going to shut it off, then I knew I had to pay them. Like I would get the mail and I would just throw it away because I didn't have any money. So looking at the problem and, you know, lingering over it all the time wasn't going to make it any better. So I don't know why I threw that in there, but I think a lot of people have hesitancy when it comes to building because they're afraid of like, I don't want to babysit people. You know, there's not enough leads. There's not enough leads for me. Why would I recruit somebody else? You know, what if I get roll up debt? The biggest reason why you all should recruit and you should recruit right away is because in your mind, it will fix a lot of the problems that prevent you from doing well. It will eradicate scarcity mentality. There's one thing you got to get rid of really quickly in this business, and that's the idea that there's not enough. There's always enough leads for people that want to buy leads. Like if you want to buy them, there's places to get them. Now there ain't enough leads for a bunch of people just want you to give them to them. You know, that's limited. But if you want to buy leads, there's always enough leads. So getting rid of scarcity mentality, that's the reason why you need to recruit. Getting rid of greed, that's another reason why you want to recruit. Getting rid of selfishness, that's another reason why you want to recruit. Because when you recruit, especially when you recruit locally, and it's all about you, it's all about you, and now there's new people there, it puts you in the right mindset of being a giver and not a taker. Ginger Licklider taught me there's two types of people. There's givers and there's takers. The ones you want to recruit in your business are givers. So in order to do that, you have to create the right environment by embracing the right philosophy. And recruiting from day one is the right philosophy. People think I want to sell XYZ before I go recruit because it has to work for me in order for it to work for somebody else. What if you suck at it? Like the best thing I ever did was recruit people that were better at it than I was. And it bothered me for years. On paper, if you looked at my resume, you'd say, Trey should be able to be the best salesperson of all time doing this. On paper, it looked really good. Couldn't sell my way out of a paper bag. But I recruited Joe Miller, and that fool could sell. In fact, the thing that made the thing that bugged the crap out of me about Joe, with his personality, who I love, by the way, I love Joe. But the fact that he didn't know how to take no for an answer was the reason why he sold everybody he saw. And I realized that some of the best people that you recruit in the business, it wasn't uncomfortable for him at all to push to get people to buy it. He enjoyed it. He prayed for them to say, I want to think about it. He rehearsed it. He was ready for it. If he went all day and nobody said they didn't want to think about it, he was depressed. That wasn't the way it was for me. It took a while for me to get to that point. And having him in the business kept me in the business because I was making money with people, not making money off of people. And I tell you what, he saved my business at one time because I was in a place where I couldn't figure out, and Stephen probably remembers this, we go to Joe's house in Fontana. I'm sending out mail, people are responding. I'm 0 for like 26. It's the worst I'd ever been. And Joe goes, what are you doing when you get there? Like, what do you say? And I was on this whole IUL kick and I was trying to overcomplicate it. And all of a sudden I'm like their advisor for life and all this other stuff. It's like, dude, just sell them simplified insurance. That's what they're looking for. He goes, if somebody sent back a lead for Gerber Life, would you show up and sell them a variable annuity? And I go, no. And he goes, well, why are you showing up complicating it? It's America with cash back, stupid. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And all of a sudden I could sell again. So a lot of the accountability, a lot of the structure, a lot of the friendship and the mentoring and the things you want, it's not necessarily going to come from the person that recruited you. Sometimes it comes from people you recruit. That's how you create an environment that you can control, is get people around you that you're doing the business with. Plus, it's a lot more profitable. And you can build passive income over time. And the last thing I'll say about that is people think, well, you know, I don't know if I want to recruit anymore. I'm just going to sell. I don't want roll-up debt. Well, here's the reality of it. If you get roll-up debt, from 15 agents that sold a couple policies and quit, you're better off recruiting new agents to cover the roll-up debt than you are trying to cover it yourself. Now, with that being said, recruiting has got to be consistent and persistent over time. It's not something you do a little bit of, but it's something you do every day. And that's the next part of this. And so I want to talk about setting up a game that you can win. There's a difference between selling and recruiting. Selling is somebody sends a lead, and it's not really selling what we do. Okay, they fill out a lead online, whatever, they mail it in, smoke signal. I don't, it doesn't really matter how you get it. They write on a napkin, you call them up, you set an appointment to go see them, or you do it on the phone. We do basically 3 things in this business. All we do is we buy leads and set appointments, help the people that we set appointments with get the insurance, and then recruit and train agents to buy leads and set appointments and help people with insurance. Those are the 3 things we do. So when you're looking at this business on the selling side of it, if I show up to Dave's house and he lets me in, or he shows up for our phone appointment, or I get him to get a pin on a one-call close, and he doesn't get it at the end, that's weird, because Dave's not stupid. He wouldn't have let it get that far if he wasn't planning on getting the insurance, right? So my job when I run into a roadblock with Dave is to push through it, to overcome it, overcome objections, get him to see the value in it, do everything I could so that at the end of that, when I get back in my car and I put my head on the headrest, even if he didn't get it, I can say to myself, I did everything I could do to get him to do it, right? Like maybe that's just one of the ones that don't buy. But my job is, come heck or high water, to get him to see the value and get him to get the life insurance. That's what I'm there to do, right? Regardless of what that looks like in the process. Recruiting is not that way. See, in this business, if I talk you into doing it, I have to talk you into doing something. If I drag you into doing it, then you're going to drag the life out of me for like the rest of my life. You're trying to do it. I'm not trying to talk anybody into doing nothing. A jockey never won a horse race dragging the horse across the finish line. In fact, the biggest waste of time in this business is spending your time with the wrong people. That's what will get you therapy for life, right? So I was never trying to do that. What I understood was my purpose in recruiting, what I learned to understand was my purpose in recruiting was just education. It was just taking people from not knowing about Family First Life to knowing about Family First Life. Education and awareness. That's all I'm looking to do. And understanding that it's not a one-call close, it's a process. It's a process of building belief to the point where people get to the point of a logical conclusion, either yes or no, it's for them. And if it's not for them, that's okay. You make more money talking people out of this than you do talking people into this. You can run with 1,000 people, but you can't carry 2 people. Some of y'all can. Rob Richmond can carry 2 people. He's strong enough. Gavin could carry 2 people for sure. But the rest of us, like Grady probably carried 2 people, actually. I think I saw a video of Grady carrying 2 people once, actually. At least bench pressing more than one. So there's a few of us that can carry 2 people. But you get my point. You can't run with 1,000. You can run with 1,000, but you can't carry 2. So how do you effectively take people from not knowing to knowing about FFL without it interfering with your personal production? Because the biggest override you make in the business is on yourself, right? You personally selling is how you pay your bills. That has to be the number one focus. So if I was going to go build and recruit and build an agency, then it had to be something that I could do day in and day out that wasn't going to interfere with me selling on a consistent level. Now you say, Trey, what's a consistent level? For me, since a big portion of this business for me, I was part-time in the business. I had a full-time job. For me, what I was trying to do is 20 hours a week in the field. That was it. So people say, what do you measure? That's a big struggle that I had. And Sean Mike straightened me out on it in 2016. Because I was like, what do I measure? Do I measure appointments? Do I measure the amount of phone calls I make? Is it an amount of premium that I'm looking at? And he goes, no, just work 40 hours. And so that's what you want to do. You just want to measure the time. Work the 40 hours, right? And what is work? The work is setting appointments to go see people, or setting appointments to talk to them on the phone, or spending time doing on-call closes, and then seeing people, talking to them on the phone. That's it. That's the 40 hours as far as the 40-hour work week of selling insurance. Now, how do you squeeze into that 40-hour work week, building and recruiting on a regular basis? So here's what it looks like. The way I was taught this business, and I'll give a shout out to Andrew Taylor on this, because I think this is probably the biggest. If you got one takeaway from this call, it'll be this one. So one time I have this conversation with Andrew, and I was upset because I wasn't doing well. And he looks at me like he's bothered. And he goes, dude, and I don't know if he said it. I can't remember the exact words. This is how I took it, and it served me well. So I'm going to tell you what I think the words were, but it may not have been the exact words, but that's what I took away from it. He goes, Trey, it's not my responsibility to teach you. It's your responsibility to learn. It's not my responsibility to teach you. It's your responsibility to learn. See, that's setting up a game you can win. Because if your success is dependent on you, and your failure is because of you, and you can't blame anybody else, then you have to get better. And if everybody took that sense of personal responsibility and started thinking about proactively, what can I do to get to where I want to go, instead of waiting for somebody else to do it for them, then we would all be better off for it. And here's what he told me. He goes, if you succeed, he goes, I'll give you all the credit. If you fail, I'm not taking any of the blame. And that was the best thing that could ever happen, because it was. So with that being said, there's two different approaches, right? There's the proactive approach and there's the reactive approach. The reactive approach to recruiting is, I'll just wait for people to ask me about it, and maybe somebody will join my business. I'll just post on social media and maybe somebody will jump in the boat. I talk to a lot of people like, what are you doing to recruit? Well, I'm posting. But are you talking to anybody? Are you proactively approaching anyone? There is a role for social media in the business, and there's people that do it incredibly effective. But I think you're only hearing the part of the message that you want to hear, which is the posting part. It's not the proactive working part, the part that you could actually control. So what does it look like to do this proactively? Well, what that looks like is taking 2 people a day from not knowing to knowing. That was my business strategy when I started. I'm going to take 2 people a day from not knowing to knowing. And if I did that 5 days a week, that would be 10 people a week. And if I did that 50 weeks out of the year, that'd be 500 people a year. Well, how do you take somebody from not knowing to knowing? What I did is I used a third-party tool. That was something that explained the business that was not me. Because I didn't want people to make a decision on FFL based on me, because I might have a good day or a bad day. I might have a good day or a bad week. If somebody asked, Trey, how are you doing? I didn't want to have to completely avoid the question, but it was really irrelevant how I was doing, because people might actually be better than I was. So I didn't want to make myself an obstacle. If I was the number 1 producer in FFL, the last thing I want to do is tell everybody I was the number 1 producer in FFL, because it sets the bar so high, and it gives somebody something to live up to that they may never ever be able to live up to. What I got good at is telling other people's stories. And then when they got around those other people would say, hey, Trey sells too, by the way. And it was okay, because I was never tooting my own horn. So let me give you a couple third-party tools, and then we'll get into the approach and what this looks like. The first one is, and this has been wildly effective as of late. Now on Sunday nights, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, I do a call called the FFL Blitz call, and it's a recruiting blitz. And what I do is I take an individual on that call, and for 2 hours, I coach them through approaching their warm market. And people watch it, and then they glean from it, and they learn from it, and then that person gets a lot out of it, and we get a lot done. I've done it for 5 weeks. We've put over 100 people in class from it. People are now passing the test. Multiple people are now getting licensed. It's been incredibly valuable and a great tool. So fflblitz.com, that's Sunday nights between 4 and 6. I don't care whose team you're on. I'll treat you all the same, and it'll be fun. Okay. Um, so the first tool that we use is a sizzle call. And what this is it's a call that Sean Mike did that's 4.5 minutes that explains FFL. So one of the things I use to share FFL with people is this 4-minute call. The phone number for that call is 561. Somebody put this in the chat because I can't talk and type at the same time, unfortunately. Not even multitasker. 561-375-3205. That's Pacific time, 4 to 6 Pacific time. 561-375-3205. Listen to that when the call's over so you can hear it. Sean does a masterful job of explaining FFL compliantly, where it piques people's interest to want to learn more. My purpose in exposing people to FFL is just get them to the point where they want to learn more about it. Either yes or no. That's it. Not a big deal. The other tool is the Rogue IMO. Stephen Yee did an incredible job on the Rogue IMO video. If you want a replicatable site that's basically tokened to you, where it has your information on there and your phone number and your email address, you can register for that site at therogueimo.com/register. And when they go there, they'll see Bob Jones invited you to look at FFL. And when they fill out the form, you get an email saying they're watching the video. And when they're done watching the video, you get an email saying they watched the video and now they're interested. So that's the way that works. So these are the 2 third-party tools that I use. And if I were you just getting started, what I would do is basically start with the people that are in your phone. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. The most important one is trust. Your warm market trusts you. If you look at any agency in FFL, it's all warm market. Say, no, it's not. No, it's not. Somebody came from Instagram. Yeah, but look at their team. It was all their friends. No, it's not. So-and-so came from ZipRecruiter. They came from Craigslist. Yeah, but look at their team. It's all their friends. The only reason to do this cold market is to get into somebody else's warm market, because there's trust. If you recruit somebody off Craigslist, don't expect them to be jumping up and down wanting to spend $1,000 on leads a week when you had 2 phone conversations with them. They don't trust you. That's a different process. You have to build trust. You know who you don't have to build trust with? Your next door neighbor that you live next to for 22 years. He already trusts you, right? The person you went to prom with. Hey, look, okay. Now, if you're not married to the person you went to prom with, don't recruit your prom date. That's weird. Stay away from that idea, right? But I don't even know where I came up with that. But I'm just saying that people that are your warm market, there's trust there. So it eliminates a big hurdle in the process of getting somebody started. A couple years ago, Jamie Cheerio had the highest conversion rate in the company of people getting started. When we really drilled down into it, he also had the highest rate of people getting started that were warm market. So there was trust there. Now, he's awesome. He had a great system to get him started. He helps everybody. He works like a freaking animal. He's amazing. But when you really boil down to it, he definitely had a higher percentage of people coming in that were warm market. So let's talk about the approach and what this looks like. If I'm getting started, let's say I recruit Albert, and Albert's brand new. What I'm trying to do with Albert is I'm going to get him to take out his cell phone and go through a cell phone, and I'm going to teach him what to do as if I wasn't there with one of these third-party tools. So I say, Albert, let's start with A. Who's the first person in your phone? He's going to say Amy. I'm like, hey, how do you know Amy? Amy is somebody you used to work with. Perfect. When was the last time you talked to her? It's been about a month. Okay, perfect. What's she do for work now? She's a hostess at Coco's. I think they closed down all the Coco's, but I remember because they had all the good pie. So she's a hostess at Coco's. Okay, perfect. Do you think she'd be good at it? Yeah, she might be good at it. All right, here's what I want you to do. Albert, text her this. And then what I do, because see, y'all have a cheat code, because you can start the conversation by text. It's not like super awkward, like you got to call them and even say anything. But what would happen if you could get every new person that started to just text 10 people, to take them from not knowing to knowing, raise their awareness, raise the education level, start the process. Recruiting's a process. What would happen if every new person you recruited actually did that with 10 people? You'd blow up. So what would happen is I get Albert to text Amy and I say, Amy, um, Amy, it's Albert. Are you open to making extra income outside of what you're doing right now at Coco's part-time if the money was right? Send. If she texts back yes, send her the phone number and say, do me a favor, listen to this. The company I work with is hiring. If it makes sense, I'll introduce you to the right people. If you think it's stupid, I'll never mention it again. It's really simple. But repeating what I'm going to have Albert text is, are you open to making money part-time outside of what you're doing if the money was right? Anything she responds with, maybe, what is it? I don't know. Yes. No. What? I don't really. If somebody texts back a hard no, just move on. Whatever. It's not for everybody. Dude, if they're not open, they're not open. You're just looking for people that this is the right time for them to where it makes sense. Right? That's it. I'm just opening the door. I'm just starting the conversation. I'm not just going for the kill right away. So that's an easy approach. Are you open to making extra income outside of what you're doing part-time if the money was right? Full-time if the money was right, right? What's another approach? Let's say somebody's really successful. Let's say the next person in Albert's phone is the most successful person he knows. He's a multimillionaire and he owns factories that make toilet paper. And he has killed it since COVID, right? Because there was a toilet paper shortage and he's so successful. You say, well, would you approach that one? Yeah, I'd approach that one. I'd still approach it. And this is how to approach a really successful person. I'd have Albert text, Bob, it was hard for me to send you this text message because I know how busy you are. And I know you're probably not going to be interested at all. But I started working with a company. I've invested a lot into the marketing. I want you to take a look at it because I respect you. And if you know anybody that would be interested, could you please send them my direction? That's it. You may not be interested, but maybe you could point me in the right direction. What's Bob going to say? So there's basically three types of people, right? There's your peers, there's people that look up to you, and there's people you look up to. The people that you look up to, you ask them for help, you ask them for a favor, you ask them for their opinion, you ask them for them to refer people. If I send you the information, would you? If I would you. If I send you some information to review, will you review it for me? Can't make any promises. Maybe I can introduce you to the right people. You know, it's real simple. Like I'm not, you say, but then all they're going to do is refer you to people. No, it's just the first step. Once they see it, maybe they see it. Then the next conversation is, look, you're really busy, but I know you understand leverage. You got a ton of influence. I tell you what, I could put you in a position if you get licensed where if you send me people, I'll make sure you get a piece of it. That way it's a win-win. We'll use your influence and my time. And I tell you what, Bob's an incredibly successful business owner. Why wouldn't he do that? He's made millions of dollars by leveraging other people. I remember the story of when Sean started, he had an attorney friend that was like, that didn't sell, but he recruited like crazy. And Sean trained him and taught him, and the guy was influential and he was good at recruiting. We should all be looking for relationships like that. There's nothing wrong with it. The other thing I want you to think about is, who are you afraid to approach? And she gets on the recruiting blitzes. Last 2 weeks, I say 2 weeks ago, I go, who do y'all know that sells Medicare? And Ann unmutes. First time she's talked all month. She's like, I know someone. I'm like, let's approach him. So I told her what to say. The person was interested and started, which is crazy. Right? And then last night, she's like, well, I talked to my pastor about it, but he thinks it's a bad idea. And I'm like, why'd you talk to him? She's like, well, he drives Uber. And I go, your pastor's driving Uber? I go, you know why he thinks it's a bad idea, right? Because he thinks that you're going to try to convince him to go sell the parishioners of the church. But you just need to let him know that that's not the game plan. I go, here, text him this. And I told her what to say. And what it was, hey, I know I've talked to you about this. And I feel weird bringing it up again, but I know you're driving Uber. You're working way too hard. if you did get started with insurance, you could probably make on one sale what you make driving Uber in a month. Can I at least send you the information? You look at it. If you think it's stupid, I'll never bring it up again. But I'd feel guilty if I didn't at least get you to look. And he responded, yes, I'll look at it. And she sent him the phone number, and I think he listened to it. So, and then the next step at that point is just building belief and bringing people to the point of a logical conclusion. And what that looks like is getting them more info. That is huge. So people say, well, if somebody's interested, what do I do? Get them to come to one of the events, right? Get them, introduce them to somebody else that's having success. Tell them other people's stories that are having success. The reason why you need to be on all the calls, the reason why you never miss a T&L, the reason why you go to all the stuff and you make friends is so that you can tell other people's stories. You know, like somebody asked me the other day, she was a server. And she said, well, hey, how are you doing at it? Now, what I wanted to do was I wanted to just unload and be like, I'm doing amazing. But I didn't do that. I go, you know, I don't know. This is how I answer everything. I don't know. All I know is my friend Alondra made like more money in her 20s than both my parents did their entire working life selling insurance. And she used to be a server. Information is never a disadvantage. You should at least check it out. You know, that's how I approached it, right? So I got good at telling other people's stories. Hopefully that helps. So 2 a day from not knowing to knowing, start with the people you know, go through your phone, go through your Facebook, go through your Instagram. People you look up to, ask them for a favor, ask them to refer it, see what they think. People that look up to you, just tell them to do it. And your peers, just see if they're open. That's it. It's super simple. And if you extrapolate this out over time, people say that's really all there is to it. No, there's not all. You're gonna encounter problems that you'll solve as you go. But the plan to get you to board member is not the same plan to get you to start. This plan is just to get you to start. Go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll be able to see further. That's it. Most people that aren't having success building, it's because they aren't doing it. It's not because they're not saying the right thing, it's because they're saying no thing. So just say something. Start the conversation. You cannot say the wrong thing to the right people.